Ever been to Stilwell? If you haven't, you should consider yourself lucky. Underneath the neon facade lies the foundation of a city that's built on greed and desperation, where the rich feast on the dreams of the poor. It's the late 20th century, and hyper-industrialization has swept the planet. Starch Cola, the largest mega corporation on the planet, has just been elected president. With the personification of capitalism at the helm, that leaves the duty of law enforcement upon Starch Cola's very own enforcers. With all the rampant crime, you'd be hard-pressed to find an enforcer that gives a damn about doing their job right. If you want a job done right, you'd better do it yourself. Welcome to my world, where danger lurks in the shadows and justice is just another word for survival. The new year just passed. Many like to think of it as an opportunity to start anew, but really, it's just a countdown to the first of many disturbances of the year. And, as if on cue, my scanner goes off. A homicide on Stark Street. I put down my newspaper, drop a few credits on the table for my meal, and set off. Since enforcers are generally complacent when it comes to their jobs, legislation was passed, allowing licensed individuals to perform private investigations, surprisingly. So now I'm headed to City Hall to get a resolution form to combat the corruption that is the city. I'm greeted by the receptionist when I enter the building. We exchange a few pleasantries, and I collect the paperwork before heading to the crime scene. It ain't pretty. Never is. This is our victim, Joanne Callahan, an HR administrator at Fort Corps, slashed to death in broad daylight. 4 wounds, 2 lacerations across the abdomen, and 2 puncture wounds in the victim's chest. Whoever did this was either lucky or calculated with how quick the murder took place. And with the perp leaving a cryptic murder note at the scene, it's clear that, above all else, they're careless. One go-over with a fingerprint scanner reveals that our killer left behind more than they intended. Now that I'm done with the examination, I decide to question a few nearby onlookers hoping for more information. No dice. If I'm going to make any progress, I'll have to start by visiting the victim's home residence. .602 Joiner Center. There, I meet her partner. And much like the previous civilians, Callahan's second half won't even give me the time of day. That leaves me with one last lead to chase down: the victim's place of work. Welcome to Fort Corps. Specializing in advanced surveillance and cybersecurity technologies, Fort Corps is the omnipresent eye in the sky. While they're at the top of the game when it comes to security, they have significant stakes in the production of cybernetic enhancements, from simple eye enhancements to full-on limb replacement. Fort Corps' research pushes the boundaries of what it means to be human. Mrs. Callahan worked as an HR administrator. Could her murder be an act of retaliation from a disgruntled ex-employee? Or perhaps she made enemies within the corporation? If there was an answer to that question, then it could only be in one place: Callahan's personal work computer. Since it was after hours, that meant there was only one way I was going to get in. Maneuvering my way through a vent, I dropped into the utility closet. After disabling their outdated security systems, I headed into the office to locate Callahan's workspace. The air was distinctly sterile, and the cubicles were neatly ordered. It was about what you would expect from a cybersecurity powerhouse such as Fort Core. Digging through the victim's V-mails, I found something. I stumbled upon a note, seemingly written by Callahan herself. It described a large figure with brown hair. To unmask this unnamed stalker, I resolved to shadow Callahan's footsteps, lingering in the places she frequented. After interviewing many a bystander, I would find one that gave me the lead that I needed. And by projects. As I make my way up, I'm greeted by security door, a barrier deployed when the building's security systems are triggered. Something happened here, and I'm not letting a door stop me from finding out what. On the second floor, an uneasy tension fills the air as I approach an apartment with caution tape plastered over the doorway. Stepping inside, the cause reveals itself. A pool of blood lies in the center of markings etched in a ritualistic pattern, yet there's no sign of a victim to be found. What could have happened here? A question I'm not able to think long on before a suspicious individual catches my eye. The proximity to the crime scene already places him high on my list of suspects, especially given his unsettling resemblance to the person I've been looking for. I approach to ask him a few questions, but he makes it immediately clear that he has no interest in helping me. Unfortunately for him, my investigation doesn't end there. As he turns to leave, I decide to follow. Tailing him out of the building and onto the streets, I find myself led to an industrial facility. Graphite smog. Nestled in the outskirts of Stilwell, this industrial facility is a cornerstone of Stilwell's manufacturing sector, where raw materials are transformed into the cybernetic components that power the city. Behind its towering gates, the facility hums with the ceaseless activity of automated production lines and human workers alike. With a bit of luck, I manage to lure out my suspect with the distraction, which affords me the opportunity to stealthily access his pockets, revealing to me 3 things of note. The suspect's name, Wyatt Murray, a knife that fits the bill for the murder weapon, and his place of residence. Reading the address, I notice that it's somewhere I've been before. It's very likely that Callahan has run into her stalker before, as he lives right next door. I waste no time and head straight to Murray's apartment. What I find surprises me. A surprisingly ornate and organized living space. Quaint and lived in. It feels so normal. You might even question if this truly could be the home of a murderer. But my doubts vanish when I uncover what I need. Searching through the apartment, I stumble upon a box of business documents. Within it, I find an employment contract for Graphite Smog, and wouldn't you know it, Murray's signature matches the writing on the murder note. Not to mention, the scrambled letters on the note spell out his name, and the fingerprints I discovered in his apartment match those found on the note itself. All that remains now is to apprehend our perpetrator. So I wait outside of Murray's apartment, biding my time until his return. When I spot him, I confront him, uncertain of how he'll react. His response is immediate. He lashes out without hesitation. After managing to subdue Murray, I interrogate him and it becomes clear I'm dealing with a deranged man. However, he's no longer my problem. With my duty fulfilled, I head to City Hall to report my findings. It's the enforcer's job now. Thanks to the complete control exerted by Starch Cola over the judicial system, cases swiftly proceed to trial and are resolved in a matter of days. With Wyatt Murray identified as the sole perpetrator for the murder of Joanne Callahan and the mysterious disappearance of another citizen, Randy Paris, justice is served swiftly. Murray is sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences, offering no chance of parole. With his conviction, the streets are rid of one more sin. In the end, Joanne Callahan was more than an HR administrator at Fort Corps. She was a person in a devoted relationship. She was a person who had a passion for music. And she was a person who ultimately fell victim to the injustice of Stilwell. But Joanne will be remembered for more than her end. She'll be remembered as a person who regularly touched the hearts of people she knew. This marks the end of a chapter in Stilwell's history. A sense of normalcy has been somewhat restored, but it won't last. Something will come to shatter the balance once again. But I'll be back to pick up the pieces.